Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with our webinar this evening. I want to welcome you all to the Financial Fireside Chats. Tonight is our fourth session, and this topic is about protecting your life from fraud and scams. Every year, new scams are created to steal your personal information and your resources. And so it doesn't matter what the scam is or what type of scam it is, how to protect yourself is the same. And so tonight I'm going to talk about the signs to look for a scam, how to avoid them, and then I'm going to add how to talk to children about scams. For the evening. So April is Financial Literacy Month, and the webinars throughout the rest of the month are more finance related. And Financial Literacy Month has been around for a long time, and it's an opportunity for various organizations to promote different financial literacy topics. So I want to thank all of you for joining this webinar tonight. So as we get started, we're just going to jump right in. And as we look at the different signs of scams, just one thing to keep in mind is that um, um, in 2024, data found that I think it was the Federal Trade Commission did a study, and they found that people reported losing $12.5 billion in scams. And this is an increase of $2.5 billion from 2023. So in 2023, there was $10 billion was lost in scams. So that's quite a huge hit on a person's resources, depending on how much it is that they may have lost. But scammers tell different stories to try to get you to get your money or your information. But there's three things that scams have in common. The first one is the scammers are contacting you to tell you that there is a problem. They might lie and say that you owe the government money. They might pretend that someone in your family had an emergency. They could even say that there's a virus on your computer, or various different types of lies. The thing is, there's usually no real problem or emergency. It's just something that's been made up in order to get access to your information. The second way that scammers get to you is another thing, they contact you unexpectedly. And so a key is to not respond to unexpected phone calls, emails, or text message or social media messages. If you don't know who the person is, you don't recognize their phone number, you don't recognize their name, don't respond to them. If it is someone who knows you, they'll leave a message, and then you'll be able to listen to that message and determine whether or not it is legitimate. And most importantly, or you can just look up that person's contact information. Scammers are going to tell you that you need to hurry. They're going to create a sense of urgency in order to be able to deal with this problem. They don't want you to have time to be able to think or to be able to check out their story. Scammers might even lie and say that you're going to be arrested if you don't act quickly. And so what's important for you to do is to slow down and then talk to somebody that you trust. I know myself, when there is an emergency or there's something happening where a sense of urgency is being created, I don't think very straightly or very straight. I have a tendency to, just a second here, admitting people. Okay. I have a tendency to, just not even be able to think straight on different things. And that is, one of the tactics that scammers use to try to get you to do what they want. And the third tactic that scammers use is that they tell you to pay in an unconventional way, and they tell you how you have to pay it. And so they often say, that you could pay this bill by, buying a gift card and then just giving them the numbers that are on the back of it, wiring money through a company like MoneyGram or Western Union, sending them cryptocurrency, or using a payment app. The reason they tell you to pay in this way is because it's like you're using cash. And once you pay, it's really hard for you to get your money back. So you don't want to pay anyone who contacts you out of the blue, unless, you are able to confirm the identity, confirm the situation. And it's if it's someone who you think you're related to or someone who you know who's in trouble, you're going to want to be able to try to help them as soon as possible. But the issue is, the scammers are trying to get you to give them their money and not really think about it, and not usually any logical or common sense in that situation. In 2024, the most common types of scams are listed here. I'll talk a little bit more about them. What's interesting is that the number of frauds that were reported in 2024 was similar to what was reported in 2023, but the amount of money that was lost increased. So scammers were able to get more money, even though it was the same number of frauds or scams that was reported. So in 2024, these first four bullets are the top scams. So the biggest scam losses happened by bank transfers or payments. And so among all payment methods, people reported losing more money through a bank transfer or payment. So $2 billion was reported being lost through that method, followed by cryptocurrency, which is $1.4 billion. And so that's just, someone calling and saying you need to transfer this money or you need to make this payment to me. And I'm saying billion, not million, but $1 billion. The next one was investment scams. And about 79% of the people who reported an investment related scam lost money, with a median loss of over $9,000. The 5.7 billion losses in this category were up from $1 billion in 2023. So there was a lot of money, like per person, being lost through these investment scams. People reported losing money more often when contacted through social media. And so about 70% of the people reported a loss when contacted by a social media platform, and they lost more money kind of overall through social media was $1.9 million. So this is individuals doing like a direct message through Facebook or um, or Instagram or any other type of social media. I use WhatsApp with family members, like when they're traveling and they're using cell phone. They're not able to use their cell phone or do text messages, so they'll do WhatsApp. And a lot of times I get contacts through the WhatsApp, and it's people I don't know, numbers I don't recognize, and things like that. So that's the most important thing. If you don't know who this person is, you don't have to respond right away until you can verify that it might be somebody that you know. And then the fourth top scam of 2024 was fake job scams or fake employment agencies. And the loss in this category increased significantly. So between 2022 and 2020 and 2024, nearly the loss nearly tripled. And so it grew from $90 million up to $501 million. So very significantly, and this is through job scams and fake employment agencies. So if you see, I'm on Facebook is where I see it the most, where there's, posts pop up that are sponsored posts. Telling me about a job. Actually, I'll even get text messages from, I think it's usually like a recruiter of some sort. They'll say whatever the company is, and they're recruiting me. And, for the first few times that happened, I was like, when on earth did I sign up for a recruiter? And I didn't, never did, but I get the job, the notice. And so if you think about it, in 2020 and the couple of years after the start of COVID, a lot of people had lost their job because of COVID. And so I'm sure they were looking for something where they could maybe work at home, just work online. And that's where I think a lot of people maybe got hooked into these job scams. One thing to always remember when you're working with, looking for a job or working with an employment agency is that you should never have to pay money to start a job. So if applying for a job requires you to pay a fee, know that that's not legitimate, because a legitimate job is not going to ask you to pay a fee upfront just to apply for a job or even to start working at a job. And so just another statistic is that younger people lost money more often than others. So people aged 20 to 29 reported losing money more often than people over the age of 70. The thing is with that statistic is that when older adults lost money, they usually lost a lot more than the other age groups. But younger individuals are maybe getting scammed a little bit more. Maybe the amount of money isn't as much as with older individuals, but it's still happening for those people. So a few other scams that I found as I was getting ready for this presentation is listed here, and I just wanted to go through them because they're kind of interesting, and you maybe wouldn't even realize that they're a scam necessarily. So that first one is labeled or has been named money mules. So what that means is that scammers are using people as money mules in order to receive or move money obtained from victims of fraudulent activities. Scammers are proactively recruiting people to be a part of this fraudulent activity without their knowing about it. If a stranger asks you to open a bank account or asks for access to your bank account or debit card, you need to be extremely guarded. A scammer may ask you to move money and direct you to deposit the funds into the account, or ask you to purchase a virtual currency or gift cards for someone else's benefit. In these scenarios, you may be unknowingly hiding someone else's money for them. So you want to be very cautious if a stranger asks you to receive or forward packages containing money or goods, because this may also be a part of that fraudulent scheme or another type. If you believe that you have engaged in or maybe contributed to the money mule activities, you want to stop transferring money and merchandise and stop communicating with the person who is giving you those directions. And then you want to immediately report your concern to your bank, and your banker should be able to assist you with the appropriate steps to being able to protect your bank account and your money. And then you also want to report this to law enforcement agency. Another type of scam is the online dating scam or romance scams. And there's been different news reports about the online dating or the romance scams. And so this might be a little more, you might have heard of this one. But what happens is individuals or the scammers create a fake profile. Um, and then try to develop a relationship with the targeted victim through online dating apps or social networking websites. Once the relationships develop and they have earned your trust, then the scammer makes up a story and asks you for your money. So you always want to be aware that scammers are lurking in these areas so that you can keep yourself and your money safe. So I mean, it's online dating is has positive outcomes for many individuals, but it is a place where scammers live. Um, the next type of scam is called like the imposter scam. And this is when a scammer pretends to be someone you know or that you trust in order to convince you to send them money. Sometimes this is like there's the grandparents scam where you answer the phone and it sounds like one of your grandchildren, and they convince you that it is them and your grandchild, and then they convince you to send them some money, and then it doesn't actually turn out to be. These individuals might claim that they're with the FDIC or some other government agency. This is common individuals, maybe the IRS calls, or I know I've heard this with individuals say that they've missed jury duty. And often these scams are communicated through emails, phone calls, letters, text messages, or social media. The messages might ask you to confirm or update confidential personal financial information, such as bank account numbers. In other cases, the communication might be an offer to help victims of current or previous frauds with an investigation or to recover losses. Some scams request that you file official looking forms, maybe an insurance form, pay taxes on a prize winnings. They may claim that you have an unpaid debt and threaten you with a lawsuit or arrest you if you don't pay. Some other recent examples include check endorsements, bankruptcy claimant verification forms, stock confirmations, and investment purchases. The FDIC and other government agencies do not send unsolicited correspondence asking for money or sensitive personal information, and they'll never threaten you or demand that you pay by gift card, wiring money, or digital currency. So sometimes some concrete examples is individuals might call and say, we need your Medicare information, or the IRS is calling, or any of those other agencies. And I'll talk about this a little bit more or a little later, but those agencies don't call. They're going to send you a letter or contact you in whatever way you normally are contacted. Um, the mortgage and foreclosure scams. These are individuals who falsely claim to be lenders, loan servicers, financial counselors, or representatives of government agencies who can help you with your mortgage. These criminals prey on vulnerable and desperate homeowners. Foreclosure scams usually come from multiple advertisements stating that a company wants to save you from foreclosure. And this scam allows fraudsters to take the equity out of your home, and they may even try to evict you from your home and sell it. Ransomware is a cyber threat that's often discussed in the news. Typically, this scam targets businesses and not individuals. Ransomware is a type of malware created to lock or to encrypt files on an electronic device like a smartphone or a computer. The sender of the ransomware then demands a ransom in exchange for unlocking and decrypting the information on your electronic device. The scammer typically threatens to publicly disclose or to sell your personal information until the ransom is paid. If you believe that your business is a victim of a ransomware attack, the first thing to do is to contact law enforcement. You can also contact a local field office of the FBI or even the United States Secret Service to report the ransomware attack and to ask for assistance. Maintaining your cybersecurity will help to prevent you from being a victim of identity theft and potential financial losses. I'm going to talk on my next slide, I'm going to talk about how to kind of maintain your cybersecurity. But before I get into that, I just want to show you a video that is an example of another type of scam that uses artificial intelligence, and it's called voice cloning. And so I'm going to flip over to my website here and share my screen. Okay, so real quick video, but it gives a good example of how easily someone can get caught up in this type
It's
of
a
a
phone call
scam.
John Bridges will never forget.
I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" She goes, "I've had an accident and I need your help."
His daughter panicked and crying before another voice gets on the line.
He goes, "I'm wanting to give your daughter back to you, but I need some cash."
Bridges says he didn't end up giving money to the scammer thanks to his quick-thinking wife who called their actual daughter to confirm she wasn't being held hostage. But he got close, even grabbing cash from home and driving it to a meetup location.
When I first heard my daughter's voice, I mean, it was my daughter's voice. It convinced me that that was her.
Calls like this have the Federal Trade Commission sounding the alarm this month, warning of advancing artificial intelligence used to simulate someone's voice in imposter scams, the most commonly reported fraud in 2022, with losses jumping to $2.6 billion last year.
It's critical that people are aware this technology is out there and that it's really very good.
Voice cloning isn't a new concept, but it's becoming more accessible, accurate, and easier to use thanks to AI. Cybersecurity expert Tiago Enriquez, who says he's now seeing insurance claims for this kind of fraud, showed us just how easy it is.
We're going to try and find some audio samples of you.
He pulled videos from my social media and uploaded clips to one of a growing number of voice cloning programs.
So it's literally a matter of dragging and dropping audio clips into this program.
That's it.
Then came typing what to say, and with the click of a button,
I already tried to call the bureau. It was weird no one answered. Oh, that's pretty good.
but could I fool a colleague with it?
Are you crazy busy? I forgot my corporate card.
Oh no.
Can I borrow yours real quick? I just need to pay for a few things. I'll get the receipts.
It wasn't perfect. There were delays, and some sentences sounded more genuine than others, but
I gotta run out and get my wallet.
it worked.
Thank you so much. Call you in a bit.
My colleague later stunned by the generated audio's accuracy.
So I pride myself on never falling for that stuff.
Experts say to make sure you don't fall for it, be skeptical whenever asked for money in any form. Don't rely on the caller ID. Those can be faked. And even if it sounds like a loved one calling, hang up and call the person yourself.
Are we going to see an increase in this sort of thing?
I believe we are. As attackers get more familiar with these technologies, what they can do with it, how to operate them, we are going to see an increase in scam attacks.
New technology requiring new lines of defense. Emily Ikeda, NBC News, New York.
All right, so you can see how maybe easy it is to be scammed and to maybe just get caught up in it. That voice cloning with the individual who called her coworker. I mean, it was a business card or like a work card, and she was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go out and get it for you." And so it's really easy to be able to get caught up in that, and something like that, you may not even know it's happening. And so, in that case, just like the tips at the very beginning that I talked about, is just taking a minute. It's, no urgency, no rush, and just kind of thinking about it a minute, and then verifying who it is that has called you. And so, just simple, easy strategies that can be used in every type of situation. So next I'm going to talk about different types of like how to protect you with cybersecurity. And this is things like just, on your computer with your emails, with social media, with your phone. I mean, we are more and more connected to that type of technology all the time. And depending on the work we do, it may be the entire time, like we're awake during the day, we are using some type of electronic device. So when our cybersecurity is inadequate, it can lead to stolen identity and financial loss. Most scams and scammers have two main goals. They want to steal your money and your identity. You should know what to look for, how they work, and what they do so you can protect yourself and your finances. So maintaining cybersecurity is very important even for consumers. It's not simply something that concerns large corporations and other businesses. So here's a list of things that you should make sure you do. So don't open emails from people you don't know. If you're not sure whether that an email you receive is legitimate, try contacting the sender directly by other means. Don't click on any links in the email unless you're sure that it's safe. And then look at the sender email to see if it matches who is listed in the email. Look to see if that correct name is used. So, to explain this a little bit further, let's say like I send you an email, and the body of the email, I'll say, Betty, I need you to send me two $100 gift cards in order to pay for whatever. And then maybe I sign it, Lorna. But then if you look at my email address, you want to verify that the name on the email is actually mine. It's an email that you would recognize from me, and that like any email you're going to receive from me is going to be at sdstate.edu. But if it is a scammer, the email is not going to maybe look like that. And so that's a way to check. So there's times when I'll get emails at work, and they seem legitimate, from someone reaching out to me to ask a question about one of the programs I do or the work that I do. But there's maybe something a little off about it. And then I'll look at the email address and then compare that with the name of the person. And if it is some weird random email address, I don't respond to it. If it's someone who's legitimate, really needs to contact me, then they'll come back and contact me again. But if it and you can always tell with emails, if you just kind of carefully read them, there's usually there's misspellings, there's weird font, there's just, it maybe doesn't look like a professionally written email, or it doesn't use your name in it, anything like that. And so, just if it doesn't seem right, then there's usually something about it that's not right. Another thing to do is to be careful with links and new website addresses. Malicious website addresses can appear almost identical to legitimate sites. Scammers often use a slight variation in spelling or logo to lure you in. The malicious links can also come from friends whose emails have been unknowingly compromised, so you want to be careful. So if you look at, let's say you get an email from Amazon that says your package can't be delivered or there's a problem with your order, one, if you haven't ordered anything from Amazon, you're probably good to go. Or if the account you're getting that message from isn't the one you use for Amazon, that's another red flag. But look and see what what the sender email is, and make sure that it's what it should be. And then if you're still not sure, then in that case, go to your Amazon account and double check on it too. So just always, taking a minute to just double check any of those different email addresses. And especially if you don't know who the person is, that's another one of those red flags. And just double check those or the website addresses. The next is to secure your personal information. First of all, before providing any information like your birth date or your social security number or any account numbers and passwords, make sure that the website is secure. So for secure websites, up in the where the web address is or the URL, there should be a lock icon that is actually locked. And that is an indication that the website is secure. Make sure that you have gone to this website because you know you have business to do on this website. If it's a website that's popped up in an email that you have gotten, don't provide that information because you don't know where it's going to go. You want to stay informed about the latest cyber threats, so keeping yourself up to date on any current scams. At the end of the presentation, I'll give you different websites or resources where you can keep on top of different types of scams. Most of those sites have email listservs or that you can sign up for that will keep you posted when something new pops up. We've heard this for years. You want to make sure you use a strong password. These are critical to online security, making sure that you're not using the same password for every single one of your accounts, and keeping track of them. A lot of sites have like the strong password option. It's recommended to use those because then they're not going to be something that someone is going to be able to guess. You also want to make sure that you keep your software up to date and maintain any of the preventative software programs. So if on your phone or on computer there are updates that need to be done, you want to make sure that you do those to update the security of your device. And if you have install any software that provides antivirus, firewall, and email filter services. The key with that is that you seek out that software. You don't just click on an email or a link that pops up that says it's that protective software, because that could be a virus, or it could be just a way, a scammer trying to get into your information. And then you want to update your operating systems on your electronic devices to make sure that older versions are replaced, because those are usually easier for hackers to get into. Another situation where scammers are pretty popular is if you have a weather-related disaster. So, whenever severe weather strikes, like blizzards or heavy winds, or, for example, in Los Angeles with the recent devastating fires, there are going to be scammers. They're following the news, and they're going to target the individuals that are affected with the disaster. So, I mean, this can be big bucks for scammers. They're going to show up right after an emergency and offer to get your power back up and running, make essential repairs, or help with whatever you need. But if you pay them and then they take your money and disappear, or maybe they charge you for things that you don't need and then leave before completing the work, then you're out that money. It's hard to anticipate the damage a weather emergency can cause. And so some ways to avoid those scams is to spot utility imposter scams. This is where utility imposters work year round, and after a weather emergency, they might call or knock on your door saying that they need to repair or replace some equipment. Then they'll ask for you to pay. Don't give them any money, but do ask for identification and verify who you're dealing with, find out what company they're from. You seek out the phone number to call and to verify. Don't let them give you a phone number, and make sure that they're a legitimate company. Usually, if you just ask them questions and let them know you're going to do a little bit of research, then they're probably going to go away, but make sure that you do not pay those individuals. Hire only contractors who are licensed and insured. Check with the state or county government to confirm a contractor's license. The Better Business Bureau um, has a on their website has a way for you to be able to check for licensed contractors, and then also ask the contractor for proof of insurance, and get a written contract of the work that they're going to do. And in most cases, for legitimate contractors, you pay them once the work is done. Usually have to pay them right away, but you don't pay them before. You don't give them money to go buy supplies. And so that's another red flag with those individuals. And then never pay for repairs or debris removal in cash. You want to pay with a credit card, because that offers you quite a bit more protection. And you only, as I already said, only pay after the work is done and you are satisfied with that work. All right, so the next thing I'll talk about is how to talk to your children about scams. And so, as I already mentioned, younger adults or emerging adults are more likely to fall for a scam. And so, the sooner you can teach adolescents, teenagers about how to avoid scams and why it's important to avoid those scams, the better. So, if we're getting scammy text messages about unpaid toll charges or issues with an Amazon account, it's pretty likely that the teenagers or anyone who has a phone is also getting them. You want to tell your kids to delete and to never respond to those unexpected texts, but you also want them to understand why. So you're going to need to teach those the dangers about the scam. So the next time you get a scam text, that's a great opportunity to be able to start that conversation about how that works. You want to talk about how scammers are impersonating real companies and agencies in those text messages, and that their goal is to get that personal information like your social security number, or any credit card or bank account information. You wanted to let your children or the teenagers know why they should never click on those links in an unexpected text message. Because not only are people not always who they say they are online, but clicking can lead them to a website where their data might be stolen. So you want to make sure that they know that sharing personal financial information can lead to a much bigger problem, like identity theft. And so losing your money and then scammers getting access to your account. So help them know that like how to delete that and then to be able to report those junk messages. Usually a text message, if you just click that you're going to delete, it gives you the option as reporting it as junk, and you want to make sure that they understand that that's important to do. So scammers might pretend that they're someone from school or from a well-known business. They might say that there's a problem or even a prize just to get them to respond. Not sure that the problem or prize is real, then tell your children or the teenagers that they should always ask a trusted adult how to respond to that message. And then scammers are going to use pressure to get those kiddos to make a decision quickly. And so always make sure that they understand that it's important to slow down and to not respond, or to check it out, so, to make sure that it is legitimate. And letting them know, if a scammer asks you to pay with cash, gift card, wire transfer, cryptocurrency, any of those things I've already talked about, that it's really difficult for them to be able to get their money back. So it's important to have those open conversations as you maybe are experiencing anything with a scammer, than to share that information and talk about the best way to handle it. So, the best way to protect your money and your information from scammers is to not respond to those unexpected calls, texts, emails, social messages that are asking for that information. Even if you're just kind of curious as to who it might be, cell phones have caller identification, and so it's going to let you know who that individual is. If you don't respond, and it is a legitimate, they'll get back to you. Whenever I send a text message to someone for the first time, I always introduce, say, this is who I am. And I would say most people do that. And then, or if it's someone you don't know that's calling, if they leave a message, then you can verify who it is. If they don't leave a message, then if it's important, they'll be able to get back to you. Make sure that you take your time. Honest organizations are going to give you time to make a decision. And anybody who pressures you to pay or to give them your information is most likely a scammer. And then I've mentioned this a few times, but never pay someone who insists on being paid with gift card, wire transfer, any of those unconventional methods of payment, because that is like using cash, and you are not able to get any of that money back. So if by chance you are scammed, and you have paid money or sent money to the scammer, there are some things that you can do. If it's not, if you've given cash or gold to somebody, I don't know how many people have gold laying around, but you want to call the police so that you're able to report this, even if you're embarrassed, even if you feel like, oh, I should have not fallen for that, you still want to make sure that you report it. If you paid with maybe another method of payment, contact who you use to send the money. So if it was a wire transfer, or if it was a gift card, or your credit card, you just contact that individual, tell them it was a scam, and then ask them to give your money back if possible. In some cases it might be possible, in other cases it may not. So that's the key here. Even if you think, if you've been scammed, and it's, in many cases you're not able to recover any of those funds, but you do need to make sure you report it, and then do what you can to try to recover that. If you gave your personal information, specifically your social security number, go to the website identitytheft.gov to report that. There'll be some questions for you to answer, and then they'll be able to tell you what steps to take in that situation. If you provided a username or password, you want to, as soon as possible, log onto those accounts and create a new password. If it's a password you use for multiple accounts, you want to make sure that you do that for all of those accounts. All right, as I mentioned, you want to make sure you're reporting a scam. So it's the reason you want to report that is because the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, collects all of that information, and they use that to help build the case against the scammers. So it's reportfraud.ftc.gov. and as I'll say this again, but even if you were embarrassed that you got scammed, you still want to report that and to be able to ask for help, because maybe you're in a situation where you don't know what to do, and you're afraid. The Federal Trade Commission is going to be able to help you out in that situation, and then most likely you will help other individuals too. So as I mentioned, resources that are available, the Federal Trade Commission, you will receive a copy of these PowerPoint slides with all this information on it, so you don't have to write that down. But the Federal Trade Commission, you can go to the consumer.gov site, and there are multiple articles and a lot of information about protecting your personal information and your identity. There's also free publications that you can order at bulkorder.ftc.gov. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the Better Business Bureau, all those are federal organizations, and they all have information. In South Dakota, you can go to the South Dakota Division of Consumer Protection at consumer.sd.gov, and they're going to have that information available too. All of these websites have reliable information about frauds and scams. And as I already mentioned, you might be able to sign up for listservs that will help you to update you on the latest information about any frauds and scams that are happening. So just to recap this information, you want to it is possible for scammers to impersonate government and business organizations. And I've talked about some common scams, and here are a couple of different ones. I mean, we could talk about different types of scams all night, and but kind of the bottom line is it's individuals who are trying to get your personal information and money. So always think before you respond. Don't click on any links or call any numbers that are suspicious or don't seem legitimate. And then and to help protect your personal and financial information, don't give someone that information unless you have made the contact. Scammers are going to contact you and say that there's a problem. That is the sign of a sign of a scammer. So don't give them any of your personal information. Government agencies don't call and they don't ask for money. Always be cautious of those links that are sent via text or email. Using credit instead of debit. Credit cards have a more protection, longer period of time, and at a higher limit than a debit card transaction. And so if you use a credit card and it is a scam, you're most likely going to get that amount back. You can always use anti-fraud pens for check writers. Another important way to protect your identity is to monitor and freeze your credit reports. You can check your annual credit reports, all three, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, on a pretty regular basis. Usually it was once a year, but since COVID, you're able to check them all monthly. And so you want to regularly check your credit report because that's a good way to identify any fraudulent activity. And you can also, if you freeze your credit, that means no one is able to access or apply for credit in your name. So that's another really important strategy to protect yourself. And then verify that there is an issue first, and then go to the source yourself. So if you have a Wells Fargo account and Wells Fargo, or you think it's Wells Fargo is calling saying that there's a problem with your account, hang up and actually call Wells Fargo and ask them using the number that you found yourself. And then just to reiterate, when you receive a call or a text message, email, letter, make sure you're cautious if you don't know who it is, and then go to the source to verify that information. So that was a lot of information. I want to open it up for any questions that you might have. And so while we're doing that, I would also appreciate it if you could complete the survey. I will put the QR or the survey link in the chat, or you can just use your phone camera to get to that. And so you can either, if you have a question, unmute and ask the question, or you can type it into the chat. All right. Are there any scams that you've heard about that I did not mention?
I have been getting notices from PayPal that I'm supposed to pay people, and I don't click on it. And I always go to my credit card account to see if it's been deducted, and it never has. So it's interesting. I get several a day sometimes.
Wow. Do you even have a PayPal account?
No, I pay by PayPal if I'm buying something over the internet, but I don't have otherwise an account.
Yeah. I for a while was getting those messages that I had um I had an unpaid toll, which, in South Dakota we don't have tolls on any of our highways, but so I thought it was my son because he lives out in California. So I checked with him and realized nope, it was a scam, but I hadn't clicked on that. So let's see. Hillary asked, does SDSU have anyone who works on disaster preparedness or otherwise? So I do a little bit, but Hillary, can you give me a little bit more information about your question there? Like what
Hi,
specifically are you thinking about?
can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm with East River and I am working on a disaster grant for our office. We just received it last April. Um, and so I am basically just trying to connect with universities, emergency management directors, anyone who's working in the realm of disasters to connect with them. So we're a civil legal aid nonprofit in case you're not familiar with us. And so we can help with disaster civil legal services through the grant that we received. And so I just kind of wanted to connect with whoever would be the person at SDSU, whether it's disaster preparedness or otherwise, and just kind of talk about the grant, not on this call, but separately.
Yeah. Um, I think there is someone that does that, but I'm drawing a blank as to what their department area is. Would you mind sending me an email and I'll do a little research for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right. So, uh, is it classy, I think is right. Always caution people, and always say, I always say yes, to who they're calling. Yeah, because they can record your name. If you say your name, then yeah, there can be some recording of it and then they can use it later. So definitely, or even um, like say uh-huh or something that's not real formal so that it couldn't be reused again. But yeah, I've heard that too. So that's a good point too. Yeah, so it's like I just don't answer the calls from people I don't know. And they leave a message and then if I need to, I'll call them back. So just, being cautious is the most important thing. So all right, as we wrap up here, just a couple of things I want to share with everybody. I have I've added another webinar, and this is going to happen on April 22nd. And it's about Medicaid and just talking about the essential health care coverage. Um, Last year, Medicaid or South Dakota's voted to expand Medicaid, so individuals a little bit higher little higher income would be able to access that resource. So I have a speaker who will talk about Medicaid and like who qualifies for it, what resources are available, and really why that Medicaid expansion is so important for South Dakotans. And so that is kind of a kind of number 7 of the webinars. So it's a bonus webinar. But if that's something you're interested in, you can just go to our extension website and register for it. I sent the email earlier in my earlier email, but I'll kind of keep promoting this to let people know about it. And then I also wanted to share about some other resources that are through SDSU Extension. We have our SDSU Extension website, and then we also have a Healthy Living newsletter. And this is, I'll send out this PowerPoint so that you have the link to that, but you can sign up to receive the monthly newsletter, and it gives you information about new resources and programs that we have available. The Healthy Living newsletter is kind of from the Family and Consumer Sciences area, but there's also, this website will also give you information about the other newsletters that we have available. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the program, that this is April is Financial Literacy Month. Next week's webinar is foolproof strategies to save money, and it is America Saves Week next week. So if you haven't already signed up for that or registered for it, please do so you can learn a little bit some strategies on how to save money. So I want to thank all of you for attending this evening, and I'll send a follow-up email with the recording, and I hope to see all of you again next week.